Every video and episode of the It's Cavalier podcast is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoy the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos, podcasts, member shoutouts, and more. And as always, thank you for watching. Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy, Mac. Today, our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Indiana Pacers to close out the season. And holy hell, this was not the type of game that I was expecting. I was so ready to just sit down, have a drink, much like I am doing right now, and just enjoy the evaluation that comes along with watching some of these young up-and-coming prospects play maybe their first game, maybe the first NBA game, maybe their last opportunity to play for the big league club for this year. That did not happen the way that we thought it would, right? But before we dig into all that, this is the final day of the regular season, folks. 7 different seeds were on the line today, and the Cavaliers had absolutely nothing to worry about. Pressure-free basketball, at least we fucking thought. That's what I'm talking about, right? It's just, you imagine that it was going to be pressure-free, no fighting for ground in the East, no risk in the health or safety of our rotation players, no win and in scenarios, just pure unadulterated fun, just basketball, full stop, right? This was an opportunity, after all, to watch the young and up-and-comers get some real run today, a real chance to evaluate said youngsters. In that vein, the Cavs sat Darius, Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, Evan Mobley, DeAndre Hunter, Ty Jerome, Sam Merrill, Dean Wade, and Isaac Okoro. The only starter that did not sit, presumably, you guys already know I'm going to say, Jarrett Allen. Respect this man, folks. He joins Collin Sexton and Georges Niang as the only players post LeBron to suit up in all, if I'm not mistaken, 82 games. This right here is the list of Cavs Iron Men since 2000. Georges Niang, as I already mentioned, Collin Sexton, as I already mentioned, Tristan Thompson is in that elusive group, LeBron, Andre Miller, Alonzo G, Eric Snow, Drew Gooden, Kevin Ollie, Ricky Davis. You got Clarence Weatherspoon, Andrew DeClark, Sean Kemp, and now Jarrett Allen. A lot of big names here. Some forgotten names here as well. Man, who remembers playing with Alonzo G in 2K? That man was a hell of a dunker. I say all this to say that this is a elusive group, especially considering the landscape of today's NBA, where almost nobody wants to play 82. Everybody is prioritizing rest and emphasizing injury management, load management, and in a league that is often fraught with that type of mentality. Jarrett Allen has been refreshing this season. So give this man the credit that he deserves. And that's about all I got to say in regards to that one, because we really didn't get to see too much out of Jarrett Allen today. I think the one thing that really stuck out from Jarrett Allen today was this play at the beginning of the game. As you'll see if you're watching over on YouTube, Jarrett pulled up from 3-point distance. It's apparently this is something that he wanted to do, and he missed that shot, air ball, pretty bad, but I'm not mad. I'm not mad at that. Jarrett, man, playing it all 82. Playing in all 82 is pretty damn awesome in my book, and respect for this man. I cannot wait until the playoffs begin, but pretty damn awesome. And right off the bat, we got a barrage. Despite that miss from Jarrett Allen, we got a barrage of triples from the youngins. A pair of buttes, absolute buttes from Nae'Qwan Tomlin and Craig Porter Jr. with CPJ hitting a slick step back to open it up. And that would continue throughout the duration of most of this game as Jaylon Tyson would drill 3 first half triples. Emoni Bates will knock down 3 in the first half and continue raining down triples in the second, and then double overtime. And the Cavs as a team shot 10 of 21 from range in that first half, and it looked like they were going to be absolutely dominating this one from start to finish. But little did we know that would not be how the game would finish. But to me, you know what? Regardless if they would have won this game, regardless of whether they would have lost this game, which they did, the biggest thing for me was evaluation, making sure that the culmination of all the work that these guys have put in throughout the duration of the season has actually led to some actual development. And I think that it has in the case of some of these players. I seriously, I was very, very happy about what I saw from Jaylon Tyson tonight. I'm going to go ahead and play a highlight reel here. JT, man, this dunk right here, that was some phenomenal stuff. Attacking, off the dribble right there. That's something that Jaylon Tyson, he's not necessarily the best athlete out there, but I think that being in his bag, and he was absolutely in his bag tonight, as you see him drill triple after triple. To me, those are the types of things that I'm looking for. I'm not necessarily looking for who's winning, who's losing. I'm looking for the effort. I'm looking for the development. I'm looking for the things that these guys have been working on throughout the entirety of the season to see if that can be something that can be carried over in the future for this Cavs team that is going to need cheap, young talent. Because with today's CBA, keeping some of this in-house talent is going to pay off when it's time to pay other guys, some veterans that you may not be able to afford. And I'm not talking about this upcoming season. I'm talking about years beyond, because these are still some very, very young players. And you think about Tyson and Bates and Tomlin and Porter Jr. and Travers. There's just a lot of names out here that I think have a good amount of potential for this Cavaliers team, and being able to go out there and showcase what you've been working on all season. To me, that was more so what this all boiled down to. Putting in the work, letting the results speak for themselves. It wasn't always pretty to watch. Craig Porter Jr. in particular, he had, to me, it felt like a tale of two halves for Craig Porter Jr., who would finish with 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks, some highlight reel worthy blocks, mind you. But he was just 7 of 18 from the field. That is 38.9%, including 4 of 9 from 3-point range. We'll talk about that in a second. But the worst part about his performance was the turnovers. He turned the ball over 8 times today, some of them coming in some of the worst possible times during this game. Way, way, way too many turnovers for Craig Porter Jr. But I'm not going to specifically single Craig out as the reason why the Cavaliers lost this game, nor am I going to pile on him too much, because there were things that I saw from him tonight and from the season in general that lead me to believe that he is coming along quite nicely. The biggest thing for Craig, because he's not somebody that I'm going to, if I'm the Cavaliers, I'm not really looking at Craig to have the ball in his hands at all times when he's sharing the floor with some of the other rotation players. I'm looking for the development of the off-ball opportunities from him. I'm looking for him to improve as an off-ball option, as with a team that has Ty Jerome and Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell and a number of other players that can actually handle. You want those guys handling. So I'm looking for improvement from the off-ball perspective from Craig. And tonight, him being able to knock down a number of triples, that definitely, some of them were pull-ups. I'm not going to lie. The step back that he hit. But moreover, the three-point shot making that Craig Porter Jr. can bring to the table is a big point of emphasis that I was going to be looking for today. Now, it's a small volume. Take that into consideration. It's very, very small volume on the season entering today, but he was shooting 43.6% from 3-point range. And when I'm talking about the volume, it's extremely, extremely low, 0.8 attempts. So less than 8 attempts. So after today, that's going to improve a little bit. The percentage will also improve, but overall, That is what I was more so looking forward to in Craig's minutes today. I knew that with no real commander out there, Craig was going to be pressed into action as the lead ball handler oftentimes when he was on the court. And so the ball handling was obviously not the best tonight, but I do believe that he did go out there and try and put his guys in the best possible position to win at times. It wasn't pretty down the stretch. The first half was an entirely different story. I thought he was wonderful, but he did play 43 minutes tonight, and maybe it was a bit of tired legs, especially with this game going to double overtime. But I'm not too down on Craig in the way that some people might be after today's performance. After all, it is the last game of the season, and he is coming off of two very, very impactful games prior to this. So if you're going to pile on him today, make sure you give him the credit that he deserves for the previous two games. Got to stay even keel and level headed in terms of evaluating. And I think today Craig's biggest issue may have been decision making. That is where he may have fallen short in the biggest way. You have to be able to make decisions when the game gets to the points that it was at today, especially on one of the final possessions that that Craig had out there. I felt that the shot was ill-advised, and he wasn't the only person to do this. I thought Emoni Bates. Amani's another guy we're going to talk about. I'll play his highlight reel in just a minute. But Emoni, on the final possession, I think it was to end the fourth quarter, he should have let the clock run down a little bit more before giving Indy another crack at it. Because what did he do? He pulls up from 3-point range. The Cavs get the ball. They bring it down court really quickly. There's about 8-9 seconds left on the clock. And what does Emoni do? Emoni pulls up from 3-point range. Now, mind you, this is coming in a game where Emoni, he does kind of have it going from 3-point distance. So I'm not going to completely pile on, because he did finish with 25 points on 7 of 15. Yes, you heard that right. 15 attempts from 3-point distance. But at the end of the day, I do believe that you probably could have got a better look. And to me, that'll just come with experience. One of the things that really sticks with me in that regard is, okay, this guy clearly is not gun shy. This guy clearly is here for the moment. He will take that shot. He has made that shot at other points in his, collegiate career or G League career. And experience, to me, is the best and biggest teacher in moments like these. And you'll grow from it. And I think all of these guys will, including Emoni Bates and Craig Porter Jr. But at the end of the day, these were the things that I was looking forward to, right? Seeing the opportunities, seeing these guys placed in the position. And I think that is going to come a long way, or it's going to go a long way rather, in making sure that they are able to provide impact in the future. So I have not lost faith in Craig Porter Jr. I guess that's all I'm trying to say. I have not lost faith in Emoni Bates, none of these guys. And I thought that it was a wonderful performance, all things considered. So I hope that you guys agree in that regard. And in saying that, some of the stuff that we got to see from Emoni today was just flat out awesome. As I play the highlight reel here, he was just drilling shot after shot from 3-point distance, and most of it was coming from pull-ups, right? Not a lot of it was coming as a catch and shooter, which to me, if Emoni is going to receive minutes at the NBA level, he has got to be comfortable being more of a catch and shoot option than anything. I think that is essentially what it's going to boil down to for Emoni Bates at the NBA level. It's not always going to be, you're going to get 15 attempts from 3-point range. You're not going to be a high volume shot maker or a high volume shot taker at the NBA level if you're Emoni Bates. So for him, in order for him to be able to get minutes, you're going to have to be able to work with with whatever opportunities you get off ball. And as long as you can do that and do it on a good enough percentage, while also becoming a solid enough team defender, I think there's a real place for Emoni at the NBA level. It's not going to be, I don't think it'll be next year, but at 21 years of age, I would be lying if I said I didn't believe this kid has what it takes to be an NBA contributor at some point in the future. I think it is there. I think that he could potentially develop into a rotation caliber piece, whether that be at the end of the rotation or the middle of the rotation. But I do think in maybe 2 or 3 years, Emoni has what it takes. It will be a long shot considering the roster that the Cavs have right now, like championship contending level. I don't think he will be able to beat out any of the players that are in the rotation right now, even next year being taken into consideration. But I do think 2, 3 years down the road, I think it's there. And I don't think he has to be a highly athletic guy who can blow past you in isolation. It just has to be catch and shoot. As long as you can move the ball when you need to, and we have seen legitimate growth from Emoni. We saw some very nice plays that he made tonight, or some nice passes out there and moving that ball. And as long as you can become a non-net negative team defender, I think that there is a real place for him in the future. Obviously, with the Cavaliers team being as stacked as it is, there is just no opportunity for him. And that's a place that many of these guys find themselves. Honestly, all of them, right? JT, or Craig Porter Jr., or Luke Travers, or Emoni, or Nae'Qwan. There are so many different people that type of thing fits the bill for, because you do not have you just don't have the chances. You don't have the opportunities as this team is steady trying to compete for a championship. And so it's a rough place to be in from a player standpoint, I'm sure, but from an organizational standpoint, to know that you have some young developing prospects, that's good, especially considering the circumstances that teams find themselves in with the CBA and things being harder than ever to surround your core with good and cheap talent. It's hard to do. And so Cleveland, Kobe Altman and company have done a pretty good job at finding guys who could potentially develop in the future, or contribute rather in the future. And I think you saw a lot of that tonight. Obviously, it did not end in a W, but there are bits and pieces that we can take away from this and say to ourselves, yeah, this may be able to translate in the future. Jaylon Tyson being a guy who can potentially attack you off the dribble, or knock down that three-point shot, or hustle on the offensive glass, as we've seen today and a number of other games this season, that can be useful in a rotation in years to come. Emoni Bates' ability to shoot that three-point shot, that is something that could potentially be useful in the future. Craig Porter Jr. being able to conduct an offense and being improved as a three-point shooter, and being out there and attacking on the glass at his position despite being heavily undersized, that is the type of stuff that can translate. And if you can get it on cheap contracts, if you can get it on manageable and budget-worthy contracts, I think that you have the makings of a really good pipeline of talent here, and a contending team for years to come, even if the Cavaliers have to pivot off a member of their core four in the next couple of seasons, or a member of their rotation, and they want to, kind of shuffle some people in and out. It pays at the end of the day to be able to have that type of talent developing at the end of your roster. And so that's where I'm at. And then last but not least, Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson is not a contributor in any real sense of the, or stretch of the imagination, but I was really, really impressed with his work on the glass. I mean, how can you not be? He pulled down 20 rebounds today. He was credited with 20 rebounds, 18 on the defensive glass, 2 on the offensive glass. And yes, he was a minus 25, which was the worst on the court, if I'm not mistaken. He was still making sure to put in effort on the glasses. He played 42 minutes and 42 seconds tonight. The last time that Tristan Thompson did that, I mean, you probably have to look back at the 2015-2016 season. It just does not happen. It does not happen anymore for Tristan Thompson. And the last time that he pulled down 20 rebounds, it's been some time. And he's done this. Like, he's pulled down 20 rebounds at least 6 other times in his NBA career, if I'm not mistaken. And 6 times in total that he's pulled down 20 or more rebounds. The last time that occurred, you got to go back to January 20th of 2020, in which he pulled down 22 rebounds against the New York Knicks. That to me, I mean, Tristan is a guy that they brought in obviously for veteran locker room leadership reasons last year, and after he got suspended for the performance enhancing drugs, because he had been playing in a rather impactful role, although in small doses prior to being suspended. But after the suspension, he was just basically non-existent from an impact standpoint. But there are games this season, and today was a perfect example of that, where he still can provide you somewhat impact in a small dose if you need him to in a very specific area, with that being on the glass. We also saw him reject a shot today on Tony Bradley, of all people. But yeah, Tristan is somebody that if you need a bit of a switch up, and I do not expect this to happen, but come the playoffs, entirely matchup dependent, he is a guy that you could potentially put out there for, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes, a half, if need be, to kind of toughen things up inside and maybe get a bit more of a beefier body out there, for a lack of a better term. Because we know the Cavaliers do not have a true third big outside of Tristan, and I do not really consider Tristan their true third big because he's so far down in the rotation. Right now, it's basically Dean Wade and DeAndre Hunter splitting the minutes at backup four, and occasionally one of them, mostly Dean, will play small ball five. But at the end of the day, I think that that Tristan is somebody that brings a level of toughness to the table that cannot be understated, even if it's just in a locker room most of the time. I think that I think that you look at what Tristan has done over the course of their career, and you say to yourself, this is a guy that you want in your locker room. And today is another good example, right? Even if it does not result in a win, even if Tristan is not playing real rotational minutes, going out there and playing 42 as a veteran that has a championship ring and championship level of experience, I think that you have to be able to just appreciate that if you're a young developing prospect. They all look up to Tristan. It's clear. Even some of the guys that are in the rotation, I'm sure probably all of them look up to Tristan. And you know, the off the court stuff is come and gone, the Kardashians, all that stuff. But Tristan is valuable. He's a valuable piece to this team. And even if this is his last season in wine and gold, and I'm not saying that it is, but if it is, I will always be appreciative of what Tristan Thompson brought to the table, especially during those title runs. So impactful as a defender, as a rebounder, a guy that was in his prime, able to switch out onto the perimeter. And even if it was just for a possession or to guard the likes of Steph Curry or Klay Thompson or, Andre Iguodala, anybody out there that you can, Harrison Barnes, just a lot of names that Tristan was able to once upon a time go out there and switch out on. He obviously cannot do that as he's more ground bound and slow footed, but in his prime, this was a guy that was really, really impactful, and he earned it. He earned his name as an Iron Man. He was a pretty good defender in his day and a damn good rebounder, especially on the offensive glass, where he was constantly in the top 10, sometimes in the top 5 for offensive rebounds per game. So props to Tristan for one more 20 rebound game. And if this is the last we see of him, I think he really went out well. That's all I got to say in regards to Tristan Thompson. Who else we got here? Luke Travers played 27 minutes, 40 seconds of action, was just 2 of 9 from the field, missed all of his 3-point shots. Not the best game in regards to the efficiency, but what I did love from Luke out there was his hustle on the glass, especially on the offensive glass, where he pulled down 3 offensive rebounds, 8 total rebounds on the day, and he was moving the ball out there. And he is, if you've watched Charge games this season, I think that I think that the ability that he brings to the table as somewhat of a pseudo guard out there, if you need him to play like point guard, and that's something that they have experimented with during the Charge season. I think Luke has that in his game. He can be a playmaker. He can be a facilitator, and he makes some very slick passes out there. And he's likely never going to be a guy that wows you from a statistical standpoint, especially in regards to scoring. But they're the intangibles, the ability to impact the game without the ball in your hands, to be a creator for others. That is something that I think the Cavaliers could eventually use because it has glue guy. He has glue guy written all over him. And it may take another year or two to get to that point for Luke where he is good enough as a shot maker to actually to actually warrant rotational minutes. But I think it'll eventually happen. And I know that sounds cliche because we want all of these guys to make it. Emoni, Luke, Craig Porter Jr., who's already made it to a degree, Nae'Qwan. There are a number of guys. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. Jaylon Tyson. There are a number of players that we want to make it. We want all these guys to make it, but the reality is that not all of them will. But I think that opportunities like these, it always pays to seize them because teams are watching, even if it is just the Cavaliers, even if it's not just the Cavaliers, rather other teams are watching, looking and saying, hey, they may not be the Cavaliers may not be able to offer them the opportunity, but we're not in the same position as Cleveland. We're not contending for a title. Maybe we see something in this guy that we can, if we just give him some time, he can develop into a real role player for us. And in that regard, you look at Emoni, you look at Luke, guys that the Cavaliers will have to figure out decisions on in regards to, okay, do we want to sign them for another season to a two-way contract, or do we want to give them an outright deal? Or there are just a number of different options that you can do. But even if the Cavaliers do not bring these guys back, today always goes a long way. The end of the season, whether it be this year, last year, year before that, the end of the season, the last game of the season usually gives teams a real opportunity to evaluate some of these guys that you can pluck from other organizations. And so good on most of these guys for taking advantage of their opportunities. Oh, man. What a season. What a season in general. And I think that's probably a good place to hop into the chat at. Loki Idealist says, Craig Porter Jr., 8 turnovers. No one else has more than 5 is the story of the game. He gave the game away. I guess you could say that. I think there was some cold shooting going on too, but Craig's 8 turnovers did not help this game by any stretch of the imagination. I thought that they had opportunities to win it before it got to double OT. And I think I already referenced a number of those with Emoni's attempt. And I think it was at the end of the fourth quarter. That was another prime example of, winding the clock down a little bit more and maybe trying to get a better look at it. D Jackson says, great game by the bench. They gave it all. Yeah. J47 says, it's been a good year. Looking forward to our finals run. Me too. Cleveland Cavaliers says 64-18. We tried. Skeletor says, yeah. Super 8 Vintage Movie says, would have been just perfect if they won. CS Levy. That roster is really good. Yeah, it is. J47 says, started the season as number 1 seed and finished as the number 1 seed, wire to wire conference dominance. I'm right there with you, man. JDS says, why Craig got to blemish my Sunday like that? Hey, don't know if you guys know, but I am a Cavaliers fan, but I'm also a Cincinnati Reds fan. Reds won today. That's enough for me. I'm sorry the Cavaliers lost. Sucks, but at least one of my teams won today. I feel good about that. Cams King 2016 says, CBJ with the nasty hero ball closing minutes. Good fight by the young guys, though. Playoff time. Jordan React says, not a great CBJ, and we lost, but I'm leaving there with being excited of why I didn't want Tyson in that Hunter deal and what I was excited about him from the Summer League plus vintage Tristan. Yeah, really dope experience. I'm sure if you went to be able to see Tristan kind of turn back the clock. J47 says Jarrett, Iron Man, Allen. As you see Iron Man back there, favorite superhero of all time. Emoni Muse says, cool, but Emoni Bates. Emoni was awesome. Had some boneheaded plays at times. I already referenced numerous times, but I liked what I saw. Joshua Ellis says, even with the backups, how do you feel, or how do you lose a 23-point lead with 7 minutes? I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't. Probably going to have to cut this one short. So I hear my daughter upstairs. Jordan React says, I still want Dean to start. Hope Kenny can make an adjustment to the starting lineup for playoffs. If we play Magic, Jarrett, wear protective gear under your jersey because Franz will aim somewhere. A lot of insinuation there with that one. Talking to Grubman Media says, what's up, Matt? Regular season finally over. Now it's time for the playoffs. I'm right there with you, man. I am right there with you. I cannot wait for the postseason to start. Whether the Cavs end up playing the Hawks, the Heat, the Magic, or Chicago, a lot of good matchups to talk about. I will be previewing whoever the Cavaliers end up taking on. Currently writing scripts for any potential opponent that they will take on, and I look forward to it. I hope you guys don't ultimately get too down on the fact that the Cavaliers lost today, and instead focus on the good that you saw today, as well as the good that you got from the Cavaliers on the season as a whole. I don't know, man. that's that's a that's a season. That's a wrap. That's it. We get some postseason basketball coming up, and I can't wait to talk about whoever the Cavaliers will end up taking on. But with that being the case, as I always tell you guys, if you'd like to reach out to me, you know I can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to this Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of said review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. If you want to support the podcast in a small but meaningful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon. You can do so for as little as $1. The link will be in the description. Go Cavs.